Friday started off a little dreary and wet, but thankfully the rain showers didn't last too long. As soon as we started to load the Malibu up in the trailer, the sky started to clear up, but that brief rain shower really made it feel humid outside. Tonight we plan on going to Cincy Street Nights down in Cincinnati at Edgewater Sports Park. Tommy's going to run the Falcon in limited 28s, Billy's going to run the Mustang in 13.0 index, and Allison's going to run the Dart in 1150. Once we had all the cars loaded up that we're taking with us, it was time to put the Nova away and start making our way towards Cincinnati. The main reason I'm taking the Malibu with me today is to test and see if the car runs any better quarter mile with the new fuel tank and the Aeromotive fuel pump. Allison is also trying to test tonight as she's got a new converter in the Dart. Bubba Rafferty up at 501 Performance in Cleveland got Allison hooked up with a new converter for the Dart that should allow the car to get off the starting line a little faster. It should have a little bit higher stall speed that's going to help the car 60 foot and probably allow her to cut a little bit faster reaction time so long as the car doesn't spin the tires. Tonight at Edgewater should be a perfect opportunity for her to get the car lined out. Anyway, we made it down to Cincinnati without any problems, even though it's Friday and the traffic was fairly heavy. When we pulled in, they'd already started time trials for test and tune and index cars before the main event starts with small tire later tonight. Once we all signed the waiver at the front gate and paid for our wristbands, it was time to go on in and find a nice pit spot. Luckily, we found one under some shade trees, relatively close to the staging lanes. Once we got our pit spot set up, it was time to unload and get the cars ready to take them through tech. Due to the elevation at Edgewater, the track tends to be about 1/10 faster than National Trail Raceway up near our house, and the surface itself is also known to be pretty fast. Typically, if you come down here with a small tire car, it's not uncommon for cars to go 520s and 530s off the trailer and deep into the 4s after the sun goes down. Anyhow, once we got our pit spot all set up, it was time to unload the cars and get them cleaned up from the trip down. Billy had driven the Mustang over to my house earlier this morning and got into some rain, so he got into some of my detailing spray and cleaned the old Mustang up. Allison, on the other hand, she was more concerned about getting fuel in the car and getting herself to the staging lanes as quickly as possible. She was on her way to tech by the time we got the Malibu out of the trailer. So Billy and I went ahead and dried the car off real quick, and we took the Malibu and the Mustang up to tech to pay for our entry for our classes. I entered the Malibu in 1150 index specifically so that I could get quarter mile time trials tonight just as the sun's going down when I know the track's going to be at its best. Allison was up first in her Dart to make her first time trial. The first pass for Allison, the car is 1/10 faster right off the bat in the 60 foot. Now it's time to come back and make another pass on nitrous and see how the car reacts. Currently the Dart's 340 has a 100 shot of nitrous on it that was all in as soon as she hit wide open throttle. This is the first time the Dart's ever struggled to get off the starting line on the front side of a decent track, so we're clearly going to have to make some changes for her to run tonight. So what we want to do is get in your nitrous controller and delay that nitrous hit like 1/10 of a second to let the tire go ahead and get a hold of the track before the nitrous hits, because the nitrous is hitting at the same time that the converter is grabbing the crank, and the suspension's just not quite set up right for that much torque that quick. So let's just delay the nitrous hit about 1/10 of a second and it should go right down.
Can you help me do that?
Yep. Instead of delaying the nitrous hit, I just put a small ramp in it, starting at 20% to 100% in half a second. Based on what I saw on her first time shot, this should get her really close to that 1150 index. While I was helping Allison get her Dart situated, Billy was helping Tommy get a tune-up put in the Falcon, and they headed up for first round of limited 28s. With the track conditions as good as they were, the kids had a heater in the Falcon. Tommy told Billy he'd rather ride wheelies and drive it out rather than watch someone drive away from him off the trailer. While Tommy squeaked out a win first round in limited 28s, I on the other hand went up to make my time trial in 1150 index with no intentions of letting out of the gas after I left the starting line. My main thing is I want to see what the air-fuel ratio does in decent air with the car running quarter mile. Although the car ran the same ET and almost the same mile an hour, the air-fuel ratio stayed steady at about 12.5. Next up, it was time for Billy to try his hand running this yellow Mustang in 13.0 index. And although Billy managed to go quite a few rounds in the car, it definitely needs some suspension help. I brought the Malibu back up and made one more time trial, and the car went 1072 at 124 miles an hour, on motor. Once we were all finished up at Edgewater, we drove home and decided to stay at the house on Saturday due to the rain that was forecasted for Saturday afternoon. After breakfast, I decided to start moving trucks and trailers up to the farm in preparation for the shop materials to be dropped off this week. I pulled in Tony and Tessa's excursion just about the time my brother and my dad was unloading this John Deere that they went over to Indiana and picked up yesterday. Based on the serial number, it's about a 1935 John Deere Model A that just so happens to be built a couple hundred tractors after the old tractor that's sitting right next to it torn in pieces. Although the engine's stuck in it currently, Dad doesn't think it's going to take too much to get this thing running again. It fits right in with all the other cars, trucks, and tractors that he's collected up there at the farm. Later that afternoon, we all met back at the house to start unloading the cars off the trailers from yesterday. The kids decided they might want to run around in the cars tonight and go down to Buckeye Lake since the Mopars are in town for the Mopar Nationals. Now, if you've never been to Central Ohio during the Mopar Nationals, you're in for a real treat. Every year during the Mopar Nationals, thousands of people flock to Buckeye Lake and line State Route 79 on both sides of the road to watch all the cars do burnouts. And typically the crowd doesn't take no for an answer. Generally, the crowd doesn't care what make or model of car you're driving so long as it'll do a burnout and make plenty of tire smoke. Since the Malibu has a line lock, it has absolutely no problem melting the tires off. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case for everybody.
Weak! That's weak, isn't it?
It didn't take long after Vicky and I made a few burnouts for the police to start cracking down. And that was our cue to get out of town. We made our escape out of Buckeye Lake on 79 and headed towards Millersport on the far end of the lake. There we met up with the kids at Weldon's Ice Cream to get something to eat and lay low for the rest of the evening. That night, Billy told me that the Mustang is having a few little problems with the carburetor that he'd like to address on Sunday. So Sunday afternoon, we pulled it in the shop and got busy. Okay, so the car ran good at Edgewater, right?
Yeah, it ran all right.
It was getting faster as you cleaned the plugs up, most likely, because it was idling pretty rich.
As the air got better, it got better.
Yeah. So, but you've explained to me that it's got a little lean spot in it. Like it, if I set the idle mixture screws lean right where it should be, then it has this lean spot on tip in that's bothering you. That's the power valve situation, which we're going to rectify that. But then it's also got a little bit of a lean spot like when you kick the secondaries open, right?
Yeah, it feels like as you're driving along, if you just like ease into the throttle, as you get down to the secondaries where they start opening, it feels like it starts breathing through a straw. Okay. As soon as the secondaries open.
All right.
And then once you go wide open, I don't know, it's like it's either, I think it might be lean wide open, I don't know.
Right.
I'm not really sure.
Let's see what we can do here. So this thing's already got a 7.5 power valve in it. Typically when ATM sends me carburetors, they already put 7.5s in them. just because they know I like to go up on power valve. So this has already got a 7.5 in it, so I just so happen to have an 8.5. So we're going to go up to an 8.5 power valve, and that'll bring the fuel curve in a little earlier and help cover up a little bit of that lean spot that we're dealing with on tip in. And then prior to this, I had already drilled out the primary squirter, but I haven't drilled out the secondary. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and hopefully this will cure some of this problem that you're having with it being lean on tip in and lean when you kick the secondaries open real gentle. What do you think?
That's 10 times better now. Like before, when you'd go to shift it, or if anything letting on or off the gas, it seemed like there was just a little hesitation.
Yeah.
And then there was definitely a hesitation before, like up top, when you shift gears, you could feel it kind of lose a little bit of momentum on each shift. I know a lot of people would say, oh, I'll just power shift it, but I'm not power shifting this T5. I'm trying to keep it together and mainly bracket racing with it, so not a big deal, but it's 10 times better now.
Nice. Well, folks, it's Monday. The plan for today was we were going to get Kenny's Camaro moved and the 71 Chevy pickup truck moved and some stuff out back, as well as we were going to do a little drainage work out there with the excavator. I was going to run a downspout tile along the property line to get that ready for the barn, but that's clearly not happening today. So Kenny's out in the shop. I think he's out there working on things, getting things put away, putting tools away and cleaning up and organizing. And hopefully today it doesn't rain all day. On Saturday, I had an opportunity to meet with the builder and go over some details about what he needed from me. One thing he needed was a bunch of this junk moved out of the way, and obviously we needed to get Kenny's Camaro moved as well. We used the tractor to pull Kenny's Camaro out in front of the shop, and the next step was to get that pile of topsoil moved out back away from the tree. So I swapped out the forks on the skid loader for a dirt bucket and got busy. I decided to use the topsoil along the creek line behind the shop to build up kind of a berm along there just in case something got away from us and keep a car or truck from rolling down into the creek. Once I had the topsoil moved, I got the excavator out and graded the dirt out flat. Not long after I got my dirt work done, Vicky came outside to check on progress, and she's already got all kinds of plans for Christmas decorations and Christmas lights. All right, Squirrely, I think we're ready.
I'm very excited.
I can tell.
8 a.m. the semi rolls in.
You hear that, Kenny Powers? With a little bit of luck, this will be the last 2 weeks that our cars have to sit outside in the weather while we're working on projects in the shop. Our builder promised he'd be here at 8 o'clock, and the semi rolled in the driveway at exactly 8:01. I couldn't hardly believe they put this entire building on one semi-truckload. As the semi was coming around the barn, my brother was pulling in the driveway with a special delivery for me. He's fixed my drone once again.
There's your killed actual count. That's you.
What are you doing?
Oh, I am going to work on my car for a few minutes tonight.
Yeah?
I'm going to detune it.
Detune it?
Yeah,
That's not what you're known for.
yeah. Well, so Tommy and Alice have been taking the dart bracket racing a little bit.
Yeah.
And last weekend they asked me if I wanted to go. And I would have loved to have gone,
Yeah?
but I don't have a roll cage in this thing, and
I know.
I can get by with this, like at streetcar nights or streetcar takeover, or
No time events.
Yeah, no time events. Like, I can get by with it. But when you go to a bracket race, I ain't getting by with shit.
No.
I mean, they wouldn't. Probably nobody would care until I started winning, and then they're gonna go to the tower and complain and bitch and cry, and that puts everybody in the tower in an awkward position.
I know.
So
So,
I am going to pull a trick that I have done before.
a trick.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll work though.
I'm trying not to stub my feet on this
Well,
post.
then don't stub your feet on it. So years ago, when Billy's S10 was a small block nitrous truck, we used to bracket race it a little bit, index race it. And I would unhook the secondaries on the carburetor and just run it on the primaries. You stub your toe?
Yep.
How did I know? I would unhook the secondaries and I would just run it on basically a 2-barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And that would slow it down 3 or 4 tenths. And in this case, I need to slow it down a little bit more than that. So I need to go test.
Test.
Yeah.
Where?
I don't know. But I'm thinking that if I leave it on 2-barrel and maybe just leave it in drive and let it shift early, that it'll probably slow it down enough to where I can run, I don't know, like 1160s, 1170s, I hope. I don't know. I don't know until I go try it.
Listen, Scrap believes in you. She's hanging on your every word. I was focusing. She's just like, yeah, Papa, that's a great idea. That'll
Is
work.
it Scrappers?
It'll work.
So anyway, what I used to do was I had an adjustable secondary linkage arm that is removable
Yeah?
and detachable,
Yeah?
and it was really easy just to pull a cotter pin out of it and remove the secondary linkage. So this is a Holley adjustable secondary linkage.
Mm-hmm.
And it just takes a couple little cotter pins and you can just remove one of them and unhook secondaries, and I can bracket race it that way, I think.
You think?
I think.
We'll find out once you test.
Yeah.
All right.
What are your plans? You had all kinds of big plans out there today. Or yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. It was like Christmas Eve.
You look like
Last
you've been in
night.
Christmas Eve right
Yeah,
now.
I know. I was so excited. I couldn't hardly sleep. I was waking up every 2 hours because the big semi was coming. They said 8 a.m. and by golly, 8 a.m. they were pulling in.
They were exactly at 8 o'clock.
Exactly. And yeah, it was just exciting. Took them a couple hours to unload everything.
No, it didn't. It took exactly an hour and 10 minutes.
2 hours. And then after you left to go run errands, another truck showed up with the doors. So
Right,
it's
the
cool.
garage
The
doors
big
are out
garage
there.
doors.
I was worried about that. I wasn't sure whether the garage doors would be here.
That guy was telling me that during COVID and stuff, like sometimes doors would be way behind the rest of the building, and he's like, luckily it's better now, but like a year or two ago it was bad. So
We're pretty excited. Like, this
Very.
has been a dream for years and years and years that we'd build a
we've
big
lived
shop.
here 26 years. So I was pregnant for Billy when we moved in here, and we should show a picture of what the
I don't
barn
have
used
time to
be
go
like.
digging that up.
I'll dig that up next video, what it looked like when we moved in here. But yeah, our dream was always to have a better shop.
Right.
And
This
we've
was
im-
supposed to be temporary.
Yeah, we've improved on this one, and this one's going to stay put, but the other one is definitely needed.
Yeah.
So you went to Jack's Wax today?
Yeah, I had to take back a bunch of our bottles of Old Man Shine because
So they had given us some that we could sell at events, but
Right.
guess what? They already ran out.
So they didn't think that they were going to sell that much of it that fast.
Yeah, and
like
they
they
did.
just put it on the website, and then before they knew it, they were negative 50 orders. They were like 50 in the hole, so they
Yeah.
called us up. They're like, "Hey, do you have any
Do
of
you
that
have
stuff
any of
left?"
that left? And we're like, yeah, we do. So
Yeah,
we ran
so
it back in.
I ran like 3 boxes of it back in there today and dropped it off, and so they could fulfill orders that they've
Yeah.
already sold. So
And they are already getting another batch
mixed.
and
Yeah.
ready to.
They just
get
weren't
labeled.
prepared to
Yeah,
start
I mean, you
another
never
batch
know.
that fast.
You
is
never
all.
know, if something's going to take off or not. But thank you to everybody who has
Yes,
supported
thank you
it.
guys.
We appreciate it.
And just for information, this stuff will only be available through the Jack's Wax store online in Columbus. I mean, we'll have it at some events, like we can sell it at events and stuff, but like Jack's Wax all over the country, they won't have this stuff. It's sold exclusively through the Jack's Wax website at jackswax.com, and that's the Columbus retail store, the OG place. That's the original
The original.
Jack's Wax shop. So, all right, is that about it, Squirrel?
Yeah, come over here. I want to show you something.
Now what?
Tank tops. It is August.
Yeah.
Summer's winding down. And so I have a tank top sale going on.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have tons left, but the few that I do have left.
It's a little dark in here, okay? Why don't you turn the light on over
That's
there?
all right.
No, turn the light on.
Oh.
There we go.
All right. So summer's winding down, and I have a few tank tops left, and so I've marked them down. They are now $15.95. So
On the oldmansgarage.shop website.
mansgarage.shop, and also anything else you want to check out.
It's all on sale? Everything's on
No,
sale?
no.
Oh, that's what you said.
I said check out everything else, but the tank tops I have marked it down to $15.95 because it's summer's winding down.
Is that it?
Are we going anywhere this weekend? Do we
I have
know yet?
no idea.
So I can't give any details
No.
yet.
None. Zero. Zilch.
Well, then I guess that's it. You're off the hook.